All right, in this video we're going to kind of expand on what we learned before with the minimum payment schedule. And what I need to say up front is that when a credit card company or bank sends you a bill, they're basically going to tell you, here's what you have to pay us, the minimum. Okay, they won't usually use those words, so they just say, please send us this amount. Now, you always have the option to send more than what they ask for. You might say, why would I do that? I don't have a ton of money in the first place, or I wouldn't have been using the credit card. But what we want to look at right now is what happens if you choose to send more than what they ask for? And how does that really affect the bottom line, your bottom line and their bottom line? You can start to see why they don't suggest it more often. So we're going to go back to our previous scenario. Okay, we spend $500, same credit card, that growth rate doesn't change unless we get a new credit card with a better interest rate. And after the first month, we get a bill for $508.82. So that's what we've been working on. Now, they send us a statement that says, please pay us $15.26. And that number didn't just come out of thin air. That was 3% of what you owe them. Now, a lot of people just do that automatically. They say, oh, I'm trying to pay off my bills. I'm trying to build good credit history, so I'm just going to send what they ask for. Everything will be fine. And you're right, everything will be fine for them, but it doesn't always work out that well for you. So let's look at the math here. When they say send $15.26, you can always say, no, I'm going to send more. Now, you can't send less or you're going to get penalized for it, and that turns this into a really bad scenario. But you can send more than $15. And the more, the better. Now, let's assume for a minute you don't have $500 just sitting around to pay this off. If you did, you probably wouldn't use the credit card in the first place. But let's say you do have some extra money and you want to pay this down a little sooner. So instead of sending them $15.26, what if you just give a nice even number and say, you know what, I'm going to send you $50. Okay, so you asked for 15, I'm going to send you 50. Let's just see what happens there. So if I subtract 50 from this, I'm going to get $458.82. Okay, so at the end of 1 month, here's what I owe. Now, if I want to continue this, which you're going to have to in some of your analysis, I just start with that amount again, $458.82, and I run through this whole process. When I get here, I don't calculate a new minimum payment. I don't care what they tell me. I'm going to send more. I'm just going to send $50 every single time. So every time you do this, just put $50 there instead of calculating what the minimum would be. Just ignore what they say, send more. Now, that's how you would extend this out. What I'd like to do is take a look for a minute at what happens to their profit if you choose to send more than what they ask for. So let's grab a couple of these numbers to work with. First of all, let's see what happened to our change in principal. Okay, so I started by borrowing $500. At the end of 1 month, I owe $458.82. So if I take 500 minus 458.82, I'm going to get $41.18. Now, keep in mind, that's what happened to my debt. My debt went down by $41, which is way different than the minimum payment schedule we looked at before. We're already making up ground faster. Now, let's look at what happened to their profit. This is even more telling. Okay, their profit is this missing amount of money. I sent them $50, but only $41 came off my debt. So if I take 50 minus 41.18, they made a profit of, let's write this out, profit of $8.82. Okay. Now, how much total money did I send them? Well, I sent them $50. Now, if you were doing this for multiple months, you'd add 50 plus 50 plus 50 and keep on going until you added up all the actual amounts of money you sent in from your own account. But in this case, I only sent them $50. That's the total, after 1 month, the total money that I sent to them. So if we do this as a ratio, their profit was $8.82 out of a total of $50 that was sent to them. Oops, let me do this. We'll change it to a percentage because that's the easier way to compare these. And we get a percentage of 17.6%. Now that is their profit margin. And if you take a look back at our earlier scenarios when we sent what they asked for, if I were to go back and just say, you know, I'm going to send you only what you asked for and nothing more, then they were making somewhere around, somewhere around 60%. It was just under 60% as a profit. So they take 60% of what you sent them and pocket it. 40% would go to your debt. In this case, I'm sending them more than what they asked for, and I've taken their profit down to under 20%. Okay? Now you can see why they probably aren't going to ask you for very much. They want you to pay it off slow. They're going to ask you for little bits and pieces at a time. And the smaller payment they ask for, the more profit they make in the long run. Okay? This is kind of counterintuitive, but the more money you send them, the less money they make.